Greetings and salutations, people of the internet, and welcome to a topical video. Cool. So, today, we're going to be talking about genetic mutations, specifically the MTHFR genetic mutation, which I will hereby be referring to as the motherfucker gene, because it's easier to say. So, to begin, first of all, I know this stuff because I am this kind of mutant, and my interpretation of this condition is that it makes me the world's most useless X-Man, because I don't get powers. I don't get any powers. I get something else. Anyway, so I'm going to try to explain this in a way that we can both understand, because some of this involves DNA, and I gotta say, I like to think of myself as a smarty pants, but I struggle with some aspects of understanding DNA. So, but the motherfucker enzyme is what it essentially does is it helps the body metabolize folate and folic acid. So what that means is that it converts the folic acid or the folate that you eat into a form of folate that your body can use. It's part of the genetic code that builds up your DNA. And the motherfucker code contains the motherfucker gene contains the information that it needs to produce this enzyme. So the mutation, if you have a mutation, it alters the chain of amino acids that make up this enzyme, which changes its form and its function as well. Mutations can reduce the function of this gene from 20 to 70%, which is pretty significant. While there are actually like 34 right now different known mutations of the motherfucker gene. However, we have two that are the most researched, that we know the most about, and I will be referring to those as C and A. However, the longer name for these are C667T and A1298C. But we don't need to remember all that. So if you have one copy of this mutation, it could be C or A, then you have what's known as heterozygous. And by themselves, if you have just C or just A, C can reduce function by 70%, A can reduce function by 40%, and you get that if you have just one parent who has a mutation. And you're not necessarily are gonna get it. And if you have two copies, meaning if you have a copy of A and a copy of C, you're referred to as homozygous, and that only happens if both parents have one copy of each mutation. So one has C, one have A, and then you lose the lottery and get CA. And if you have like two copies of one mutation, like if both of your parents passed C to you or A, they know that as compound heterozygous, and that can account for about 50% reduction in function. So, before we go, this is complicated, and I'm trying. So, the motherfucker gene is responsible for a process called methylation. And what methylation does, it's almost like a general manager who operates a master switch for a couple different biochemical processes in your body. Generally, it can turn cellular processes on and off. It removes methyl groups from certain molecules when needed, and it sort of makes sure that all of the cells and the different functions of your body are doing their job. Then they're also responsible for a process called methyltransferase. What that does, it's responsible for a couple different things, like breaking down oestrogens. I can't tell you what that is. I didn't do that much research. It maintains the health and like structure of your cellular membrane, and it transverts choline production into energy. So what does that fucking mean in the real world? Let's talk about that. If your body doesn't do methylation properly, which will happen in this if you're this kind of fucked up X-Man, your body can't produce necessary responses to its environment. There's a problem in the communication of what your body is telling, what your body is getting, that your senses are picking up, and your body's physical responses to those things. So the biggest thing that this causes problems with is detoxification. People will talk about being on a cleanse, and I used to be like, well, that's what your liver's for, isn't it? However, if you are homozygous, especially, essentially my liver takes double damage and regenerates at half capacity, to put it in video game terms. So I always want, because I don't drink nearly as much as my family members, but there have been a couple times in my life where I was drinking not as much as they were, but more than usual, and got fatty liver disease. However, that's a very treatable, really just stop doing what you're doing that's making that happen if you want your liver to get better, because it does regenerate slowly in my case. It's responsible for repairing and building and rebuilding DNA and RNA, which I will not explain because I do not understand. It is responsible for your body's production and processing of hormones, which is interesting as a trans idiot. They are very instrumental in building immune cells. They repair cell membranes. Methylation turns your body's stress responses on and off, so it can trigger your sympathetic nervous system and reduce activity in your sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight thing. It produces energy, recycles and rebuilds and builds new neurotransmitters. So people, at least people who are homozygous, have fewer net neurotransmitters than other people. And it is responsible for metabolizing fat, which I won't get into. It's not that important for me. So what does that mean? What does that fuck up in my body? I will tell you. These are the symptoms that can arise and the complications that can arise from having one or both of these mutations. I don't have all of them. I'll tell you which ones I have and which ones I don't. So the symptoms can be cardiovascular disease, which I don't have, impaired immunity, which I definitely have, chronic inflammation, which I absolutely have, diabetes, no, anxiety, yes, depression, oh yeah, chronic fatigue, yeah, colon cancer, no, I don't have that, but I do have a lot of gut problems. It can cause, not just colon cancer, but an assortment of gut problems, so I have a lot of those. Fibromyalgia, which I don't have. Infertility, which I assume I have just by dint of, for a while I was being an idiot and not using a condom with a guy, and that's weird. But just generally, not just infertility. I hope I'm infertile. I don't ever want to do that. That sounds like a horror movie to me, pregnancy and birth. However, it causes miscarriages. My mom has, both sides of my family, there are a lot of miscarriages on both sides, and it increases the probability that a fetus will develop some really horrific genetic problems like microcephaly, which means head too small, and spina bifida, which means an exposed spine. So that is probably what is the most important thing, I think, for people to know, and I think that's the most, if you're healthy with everything else, but you want to have a child and you have a vagina and are capable of making a child, definitely, if you have some of those symptoms, look into it, because it's important to know whether you have any of these mutations before you go into pregnancy. Let's see. It amplifies psychiatric conditions, which is when my doctor clocked this on me, and she did the genetic testing and she confirmed it, and then I looked it up and it was oh, this explains everything. I knew that the gut-brain axis and the gut and the brain are completely interconnected, and I'm really excited about the possibility of, the scam artists who are coming out with products before they really know what they do are calling it psychobiotics, which is the treatment of psychiatric conditions through alteration of the microbiome or the the biosphere of your gut. We don't really know too much about even the short-term effects of that, let alone long-term. I am excited about it largely because studies have consistently shown that antidepressants are not effective in the long term. And I don't think a lot of people know this, but the current state of psychiatric medicine, or at least antidepressant medicine, is based on what they call the serotonin theory. And it is exactly that. It's a theory. It's not a proven thing. So when psychiatrists say you're depressed because you have less serotonin in your brain, that's a fucking guess. They don't know that. There is really not a lot I don't know if there are ways to measure how many neurotransmitters and what kind you have in your brain. So they talk about it like they know it's real, but it's really a theory. But altering the serotonin production in your brain does cause temporary changes, but usually your brain will upregulate or downregulate to adapt to those changes, and those changes will basically fade over time. That's aside. All right. Also, 50 to 60% of people have a genetic mutation in the have a motherfucking genetic mutation. So, if any of this sort of vibes with you, and you are and you have actual health insurance and can see an actual doctor, I highly recommend asking about it. Unfortunately, a lot of doctors just straight up don't know about this. I mean, when I was born, they didn't know. There was no genetic testing. Oh, look who's crawling up. So anyway, so managing this shit largely has a lot to do with food, which is very Ayurvedic. But also, I take a bunch of supplements that my doctor recommended that really have made a difference for me. The biggest one is L-methylfolate, which essentially it assists your body metabolizing folic acid and can bring up a little bit more function to your methyl motherfucking thing, you know. I also take DHEA, which reduces stress and regulates hormone production, which is good because my body is bad at that. And it's funny, since I've started taking testosterone regularly, so much has improved in my body. I've never been able to build muscle much, but I'm building muscle now, and that is sort of correcting some of my problems with my spine and my neck and my pelvic floor, which is awesome. Anyway, the foods that you should avoid are cereal grains. If you eat cereal, you might want to stop because cereal is pretty much all fortified by folic acid, which if you eat a lot of folic acid, when your body can't metabolize it, it causes all sorts of problems and your body can't use it. Avoid dairy. That's my big one. I can have a piece of toast or a few crackers and be okay. But if I eat a bite of ice cream, I'm in trouble. Avoid processed foods. A lot of them contain, because my body isn't very good at detoxifying itself, I have to reduce the amount of toxins that I put in it, which is really annoying to me because I really like toxins. I had to quit smoking. I didn't have to, but I quit smoking. Again, reducing the amount of toxins entering your body. Definitely, if you can, reduce environmental toxins. If someone's smoking nearby, maybe move. Or avoid spraying really heavy-duty chemicals in your house without opening a window or maybe wearing a mask. Just try to minimize the amount of things that are bad for your body, essentially. Speaking of which, you're going to want to reduce or lower your alcohol consumption. This has been one of the more difficult things for me, because I'm not an alcoholic, I don't think, but I definitely have a problematic relationship with alcohol. So, and just, I liked to drink a lot. And I don't so much anymore, which makes it easier, but, you should try not to drink at all. And if you do, You shouldn't get drunk. You shouldn't drink enough to make you drunk. Yeah, so there's that. This is really, I know, this is the most ridiculous suggestion, because this, like, they say reduce stress. We live in a hellscape apocalypse. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's pretty fucking stressful. However, look into ways that you can manage your stress. One way that I manage my stress is, like, I have, like, a vault of things that upset me. And if I hear something that really upsets me, or if somebody, like a member of my family, says something that brings up a whole lot of really shitty feelings for me, I'm like, put that in the vault. It's going to come out when you talk to your therapist. And again, I'm very privileged because I have a therapist. But even a close friend, maybe. Also, like, there's a lot that you can do to manage chronic stress. I have PTSD. Right now, I am going through EMDR therapy to address the PTSD. And it's amazing how much my overall stress has reduced since I started that. My room is fucking filthy. I should address this. That's how I'm addressing it right now. So, yeah, reduce environmental. And finally, eat more veggies, especially dark leafy greens. I know a lot of them taste not great. However, I heavily recommend, instead of, like, steaming something, you're going to want to saute it in olive oil and garlic. That, makes any vegetable, and especially the dark leafy greens, a lot more palatable if you don't like the taste. And I guess that's it. This has been on my mind because I found out about it a while back, but then I ran into someone at my sister's wedding who knew about it. And also, I've been wanting to make the joke, world's shittiest X-Man, for a long time. World's most useless X-Man, I guess. Although, maybe that's a mutation that Professor X had. I don't know. I like to think that I have, not superpowers, but, like, that I am fairly good at harnessing my mental illness for good, for helping people instead of being upset and destroying my relationships. If you have any insurance at all, or if you can get, like Obamacare or whatever, or if you just can find a therapist, or even, I act as a therapist for a lot of my friends, just because, like, they have chronic stress and a lot of problems, and I'm just pretty good at listening. So, I don't know, you can message me if you want to talk about the things that are stressing you to reduce your stress. There are also a lot of apps out there that I don't really use them, but that can guide you through, like, deep breathing techniques and other stress-reducing activities. This is almost a 20-minute long video. I'm going to stop it now. Oh, okay, Internet? Okay, I love you. Bye.